it is hard to know what, and it's awestruck, and it is talking about how mighty God is and how we don't understand him and how what he can do can seem so terrible, and then he can give us peace at the same time. And I think that's something that you just have to learn how you go. And I would agree with Gene. You never tell anyone God is harmful, but if they ask you directly, the answer is going to come to God will directly do things that are harmful, and you can't lie about that either. And
he causes or allows.
I think he caused Ananias to die pretty dang directly.
He allowed it.
So
He killed some people in Scripture. There were several. But Mark, never mind.
I think as you learn and you want to know knowledge and you seek, you can go from allowed to realizing what God is. And that's what I told this kid. I said, a very difficult thing of God is when it comes to punishment, when it comes to direction, it's very, very difficult to tell God from Satan as far as who allowed what, who does what, it's very difficult because God allows whatever you want to say. He says trial will come and you will benefit from it. And it does. And then he does punish just like all parents punish. And that's what we're going to see here in what Habakkuk said. So that discussion has gone on since Habakkuk, since before Habakkuk, of the mighty, scary God who gives me peace. And that's the difficult thing. So the first part of this is stand in awe, and it is 3:1 and 2. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet according to Shaganayoth. We don't know what the Shaganayoth is. Lord, I have heard the report about you. Lord, I stand in awe of your deeds. Revive your work in these years. Make it known in these years. In your wrath, remember mercy. So what was the report? The report was what we learned from last week is I'm going to use those bad people to straighten y'all out. That was the report. And at the end of it, Habakkuk was waiting for an answer. If you remember, he said, I'll just be up on the tower waiting for you to give me an answer of how you would do this or why you would do it. And so this is a prayer that Habakkuk had. And he says, I have heard the report about you, Lord, and I stand in awe of your deeds. What do you, would you be in awe of? I mean, I'm not saying I'm shocked at your deeds or something like that. I don't know.
When he knew Jewish history, he knew all the things God had done to deliver them from this and that, whatever the situation was. And that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But then you turn it around and he also knew all the punishments that God had inflicted on them because they didn't follow him either, which is kind of hard to look and be in awe of punishment other than you can look at it and say, well, he was consistent. And a lot of people, that's all you want is consistency. It's like, okay, if I'm bad, I know this is going to happen, and this is the consistent punishment I'm going to get. So you can almost get to the awe, but I can't get to that on the punishment side. But he did know all of that. And I don't think he was just talking about God sending the Babylonians now as much as I know all about you. I know I've read, we've got part of that, the first 5 books anyway, and all the stuff that he did. And you just go, wow, he doesn't change. Everything that he said he was going to do, he's always done. And and you can be awestruck in that, but and yet still not quite understand. But I don't know why you did it this way. If you left it up to me, I'd have done this.
That almost what you said just reminded me of the verse, fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So he kind of got the fear of the Lord, and then he had learned and started learning, and actually I think what we're visiting is recounting a lot of the knowledge he has learned so that he can know who the Lord is. And isn't that what that's a big part of what you learn what you learn in the Bible, I guess maybe all of it. You learn who the Lord is. Why do you need to know who the Lord is?
Well, we're supposed to pattern ourselves after
See?
his way.
We are going to pattern ourselves after his ways. And so if you're going to become the likeness of Jesus, you're certainly going to have to know who Jesus is. And so I think you read and learn, and you learn one little thing of how God did that, how he thinks, how he does. And can I understand God? No. But I can understand little parts of him at a time. And like I say, what he says is you are going to be conformed to the likeness of Jesus Christ. So over time you can. And same when you come into me, can you understand everything I know? Not very likely. But
you don't understand everything we know either. So it works both ways.
But that's what I say. Doctrine, you come in doctrine. I don't mean here. Yeah, no. When you come in doctrine, you can't know everything I know. But if I teach correctly, do the best I can, you're going to learn knowing something you didn't know while you're there. You're going to leave a little bit smarter about health than you were when you come in. And I think that's the case every time you read the Bible. You leave just a little bit smarter about who God and Jesus are. And as you do, it's funny, you do become more in awe of who he is when you can find that he's always consistent, as Steve says, and what he's done is amazing. How he handles us is amazing.
We were all in awe last Sunday when that couple walked in the door. Timing was so amazing.
So the next one is tremble in his splendor, and this is kind of where he goes back and talks about the things you were saying of what he knows. God comes from Taman, the Holy One from Mount Paran. Selah. His splendor covers the heavens, and the earth is full of his praise. His brilliance is like light. Rays are flashing from his hand. This is where his power is hidden. Plague goes before him, and pestilence follows in his steps. He stands and shakes the earth. He looks and startles the nations. The age-old mountains break apart. The ancient hills sink down. His pathways are ancient. So what's he doing there?
Trying to describe in human words how to describe God's awesomeness. How can we describe God? We always know that challenge right there. How do we describe God's awesome power? And we're limited to our words. And I'm not sure that's descriptive enough, but that's all we have.
Yeah. And that's all you can know. I kind of say, the thing in medicine now is the mid-levels that, that's what Ashley is doing, physician assistant nurse practitioners. And how good are they? Well, only as good as the knowledge they possess. And you say, well, if they're good, they're going to recognize when they don't know something. Well, you can't know what you don't know. You just can't. And it's what you say with God. We can only explain God by the words we have and the knowledge we have, right? I I can't imagine that part of him that I don't know, and I can realize I don't know it, but I still can't imagine how in the world can I think I prayed today for God to save someone in that church, and then I say, well, you already know who's going to be saved, so what's the strength? I mean, how in the world, God, do you already know who's going to be saved? Yet here I am praying for some poor lost soul to be saved, but they were in your book for the.
Just in case he forgot.
Yeah, well, I cannot possibly ever figure out how in the world that can come about. I just can't possibly. But what I can do is figure out that God says to pray about it. God says it's your job to make it happen, and God. So again, it's you only can describe it as we have words, and as Habakkuk did, you go back and use your knowledge and you use your learning and you use stuff to try to help you understand just where you're sitting at. Because remember, why is Habakkuk doing this?
You know that they're going to be punished.
Yeah, because he's just been told by God, I'm going to use these people to punish y'all. And so he's trying to figure out.
It's like go out and get the switch.
Yeah.
Go out and, you pick the switch off the tree. Sit here and you pick the switch.
Yeah. So anyway, he's got some pretty good. He understands God pretty well, I think. The next part is celebrate his victory. Sun, and this is 11 through 13. Sun and moon stand still in their lofty residence at the flash of your flying arrows, at the brightness of your shining spear. You march across the earth with indignation. You trample down the nations in wrath. You come out to save your people, to save your anointed. You crush the leader of the house of the wicked and strip him from foot to neck. Selah. Selah.
Wait for it. It's a pause. Basically, it's a pause to meditate or praise. Singing, where it's just a wait, if you will, in music. It stops for a second and you just kind of absorb it, meditate on it, and you move on. I found it interesting. I don't know why, but I like he's going to do that from foot to neck. We always say head to toe.
Yeah.
This seems to be the other way around. Which one's right?
I don't know. I might try that other one. Say law. I'm gonna start using that. Shut up. Be silent. That's good.
So that
he actually knew though about Joshua and the fact that God caused the sun to stop for a couple hours while they finished their battle.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty. That was part of it. So they knew that.
and he has. It's like you say. He has seen. He's seen what God does for his people. He's seen what God's done to his people, against his people. He's now got a threat of what God is going to do to his people again. And now he's trying to look and say, well, but I know what you're going to do for my people as well. I mean, that's what I think that is now. Is again, you call that justifying? I mean, what is?
I think he's giving them both sides of it. Don't ask it to do that, but they'll come out okay on the other end.
Now, this is just a prayer to God. So this is. I pray like that, I think, sometimes, where you don't understand you, so you talk both ways, kind of.
because you know where he stands. Like in this prayer, there's that bit of, how about some mercy? Because I know you can. At the same time, I know you're unchanging, and so I know we've got to have that. You know where you stand with him, and I get maybe that's the point. Steve, you said earlier about unchanging, and Rick even tried to apply this to our society, or our world, our country now. What, anything goes, whatever makes in your mind or in your heart feel right, then go with it. That is the philosophy of a wicked world. And we know that it can't be done that way. God has, he tells us what's right and wrong, and when we waver from that, what do? We rationalize. But it just seems right to me. I know God would be okay with it. And that's what we end up doing. And that's how they get in trouble.
I think that further insist that you agree with me too, and not only that, we'll pass laws to make sure that it's okay, so that then you can't even say anything bad about my decision to be right.
Right. That's taken. You're right.
And that's all. I mean, again, in my profession, I deal with God's laws as well, which is God's laws of nature and how things work. And one of the things you learn through med school and such is that common sense is not always the correct answer. And that's what we kind of do with what you're just talking about. Well, surely it would be better if we just did it this way.
It seems.
Yeah. and like you say, you learn and you study, and I think that's what we see with Habakkuk. He learned and studied, and you go through and you learn that's not quite right. And so, anyway, this last is rejoice in faith, and this is Habakkuk again. I heard, and just say that I heard was he heard what God was going to do. That's what it's saying in here. He heard. So I heard, and I trembled within. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness entered my bones. I trembled where I stood. Now I must quietly wait for the day of distress to come against the people invading us. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there is no fruit on the vine, so the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will triumph in Yahweh. I will rejoice in the God of my salvation. Yahweh, my Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet and enables me to walk on mountain heights. This last part is another part for the choir director on stringed instruments. So I have done my rendition I've got here of how you're supposed to read this on stringed instruments. I sang it today.
Please say it.
Let's hear it.
I really pictured Bob Dylan doing it, so if you could start from the first.
Our ratings may go up.
Yeah, really.
I thought he was just so excited by what his revelation that he just prayed, and it's like, man, that's good. We can put that down to use. Get the choir director to do this.
And it's interesting what he said, and that's what's so hard. And I will say it goes to what you said. What he does here is I hear what you're going to do against me, and all I can do is wait for you to be consistent and do what you promised you're going to do to the other folks. That's what he said. So again, to me, he says, I know you're going to punish us, but I'm going to wait for the next part. And he does says, I'm scared to death of that punishment, I think is what all that sickness means, isn't it?
Well, who wouldn't be, you know?
Well, there's a good chance you're not going to survive it.
That's right. That's right. Because he doesn't know if he'll be
I
around.
mean, the Babylonians were ruthless, and everybody knew that. So they're going to come in and they're going to wipe out everything. If they don't wipe you out, they're going to take you into exile,
Right.
which they did.
If they can't use you, yeah, they'll lose you.
I don't know whether Habakkuk made it through exile or
Yeah,
not. It doesn't say. It doesn't mention him, I don't think, in any of the.
I doubt that they
When
would want.
Nehemiah's listing all these people that are there, it doesn't mention his name.
It sounds a little bit like the Star Spangled Banner, doesn't it? Champion.
How's that go?
Huh?
How's that go?
You sing Star Spangled Banner? No. You don't want to hear it. No, but you know, like the trampling of the. Yes, true. Oh, that's yeah.
And that's the hard
That's right in
thing.
my head. What?
The hard thing is this next part where he talks about how terrible things are. Oh, the fig tree doesn't bud. There's no fruit on the vines. There's no sheep. There's no cattle. There's nothing. Yet I will triumph in Yahweh.
Which happened. I mean, Rick talked about that this morning. As exiles, even the stuff that they had didn't belong to them. It belonged to the kings of the nation that conquered them. And so they had nothing. And he still says, cool, I'll be good.
But the hope of God.
And he's still all right.
And Moses talked about wanting to know the ways of God. And as I read verse 17, I thought about that. Fig tree not blossoming, fruit not on the vines, and all the different things. California famine out there because of drought, because of no rain. Paul, if you look in verse 6, it says something about the everlasting mountains were scattered, the perpetual hills did bow, and those mountains in Nepal fell this week like sandcastles. Same thing. And God is using nature to judge people today, just like we did back then. That's part of his ways. What
But
Moses
he's
wanted
not
to know.
doing it.
Mhm.
But he's not doing it.
He's doing it or allowing it.
So he does do it.
I ain't going back down, sorry.
So he does.
This happened to me with my,
So
Causes.
Mark, my point is, a major thing that God did that
But-
created pain 9 days in the burn unit.
that's correct.
You don't tell
That's
him
true.
that God did that
That is
until he is old enough to understand. If somebody had come to me as a 5-year-old girl
Yeah.
and
And I-
said, God killed your daddy, his body's
And I-
over there in Germany somewhere,
yeah.
in
I think you heard me
1944,
say
I
was-
wouldn't be here today, I
I think-
promise you.
You heard me say I was talking to a kid. The kid's 25. So,
But if they don't know anything, you still.
Milk and meat.
but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying is just that. You feed them baby food when they need baby food. You feed them meat when they need meat. And as a mentor, as anything, you've got to advance with them, I think. Is that not right? You know the truth, don't you?
You have to,
How did you learn the truth?
if they're 50 and they don't know anything about God, just become a Christian. You don't tell a 50-year-old that God did such and such.
So-
Because they have to
Still, yeah, that's milk and meat.
See, I have heard all my life people my current age saying they love their mate more at 70 or 75 than they did at 25. I am finally old enough to understand that. I had been married to Gerald for 55 years, and I love him more today because I know him better than I did whenever I was 22. The way you get to know and love God is by getting in his word and doing what he says. And I'm saying, like I said, I love him more today than I did because I know him better. But I still would.
But that milk feeder would say, why did God drop them mountains on them poor people in Nepal? Because I could sure think of some better places he could have shocked or rocked and shambled. They don't do anybody any harm over there. And it's true, those people they stay to themselves. They're very, very peaceful. Why them? I
All
don't
know
know.
is the Bible says
I
you
know
live by
about
faith.
Probably won't ever live.
We won't
Right,
know.
I know.
Anyway, the last verse is where we get to again. God, you feel God, you just can't understand or imagine. So after he said, I know things are going to be absolutely horrible. And then he says, but I will triumph in Yahweh. I will rejoice in God of my salvation. Then he says, Yahweh, my Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like those of the deer and enables me to walk on mountain heights. So he doesn't wallow. He says, not only do I understand a little more of God, but I know the promise he made me. And that promise is, for different ones, the one I think of is I have plans for you and they are good. I mean, you have eternal life. I mean, you think all the promises, all the complexities of the covenant, but they're all really the same, aren't they? They're all things are going to be absolutely, unbelievably great. Isn't that the promise in a nutshell? Is it? Forever? And that's where Habakkuk went here, I think, is, again, trying to explain in his words, all this bad's going to happen, yet I know I'm going to come out superhuman or something like that.
Living or not.
Yeah.
I think you understand. Turn out okay because he knows that God is unchanging and he knows where he stands with God. And that's the beauty of it. Whether you're in this life or not, God is not going to change. So you know exactly where you stand. And that, I'm going to seem like I'm overdoing it, but this is where we've gone astray in our country. Like, we don't know where we stand anymore because we've compromised so many years.
But we can always be rest assured that we know where he stands.
Yes,
Exactly. That's our mark right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've moved to Mars.
Yes, we have. We do.
I think that's the key. I'll go back where we started this. So, what Gene says, what we all say is study the Bible, learn the Lord. And if we were all going to tell, and you already did, if we were to tell a young anyone, how do you get to where you want to go? That's truly what it is, isn't it? Yeah, get in the Word intentionally. And that's still, that's the thing. I think if we can make this class what it can, strength is still stay in the Word, figure out, and make sure people understand from different perspectives so that we all learn every time in here, I think, because of other people's perspective, I hope.
I don't know what that was.